I'm Dr. Mohammad Shoaib from PIMS, and I've thoroughly enjoyed all the presentations given by our worthy seniors, and they cover almost all the aspects of heart failure. And I will be discussing the role of exercise and physical therapy in heart failure. So, just giving a preview of burden of disease, heart failure has a prevalence of 5.7 million in US, and it is projected to increase to 8 million in 2030. Rising prevalence is attributed to improved survival of patients with myocardial infarction and heart failure, and high population burden of heart failure risk factors like hypertension, obesity, diabetes, and smoking. Around 50% of patients with the reduced ejection fraction die within 5 years from diagnosis. So evolution of evidence in favor of physical therapy. Initially, before 1980, patients with all stages of heart failure were advised to refrain from physical activity with bed rest prescription. And in 1988, first paper was demonstrated the effect of ambulatory heart failure patients can significantly improve their exercise tolerance. It was followed by another good paper which was written by Doki et al. And it described the physical inactivity in patients with the symptomatic chronic heart failure is associated with nearly twice all-cause mortality. So exercise and different stages of heart failure. We can change the progression of heart failure by inducing exercise. It has a protective effect by doing the primary prevention of heart failure. 21% of risk of heart failure can be reduced by increment of one metabolic equivalent. And then it gives the therapeutic benefit by giving secondary prevention of heart failure. Exercise training is associated with modest reduction in all-cause mortality, cardiovascular mortality, and hospitalizations. And followed by the prognostic factor. Like we all know that exercise impairment is a poor prognostic factor in heart failure. So this is the slide showing the same relationship that we can reduce the progression of heart failure by properly implementing the exercise in patient's lifestyle. So this is the growing evidence. Like in 2020, there were about 714 papers just about the role of exercise in heart failure. Importance of exercise intolerance in heart failure. Exertional dyspnea, fatigue are the primary symptoms of chronic heart failure even when well compensated. Reduced exercise capacity is inherent in definition of heart failure, and it is the major contributor to reduce quality of life. Good functional capacity is a strong predictor of survival. So this is showing the same relationship. Firstly, it shows that if the daily sitting time is increased, it increases the mortality. And at the same time, it shows that if there is increased activity, there is a decrease in mortality. So both of these factors are independent of each other. Like there may be some patients who do vigorous exercise, but they have the desk job. So their daily sitting time is increased. We should have reduced sitting time and increased physical activity, which will give us additional benefit. So this is the relationship of moderate to vigorous physical activity to all-cause mortality. You can see that at the start of this graph, like here, you can see that with even a small increase in exercise, there is much higher decrease in mortality hazard ratio. And once we reach 70%, then the graph takes a plateau. And after that, there is no evidence of increased mortality at higher physical activity, but the improvement in the mortality remains the same. So this graph gives the range of movement. You can see that in patients with heart failure with reduced ejection fraction and preserved ejection fraction, they have the maximal peak oxygen uptake of even less than the patients with heart transplant. And you can see that the normal individuals, especially the athletes, they can much increase their oxygen uptake from the muscles. So heart failure with preserved ejection fraction has a very high prevalence. It has poor prognosis. Very few proven drugs have been described, and there were more than 20 negative medication trials, which were all shown by our dear Professor Dr. Shehbaz. And this was followed by some improvement, some promise by use of empagliflozin and empagliflozin and dapagliflozin. While the evidence regarding the ARNI stays not in favor of mortality benefit. So Dr. David Goff once said that the most common cardiovascular disorder for which optimal pharmacological treatment is unknown is heart failure with preserved ejection fraction. This is the activity. We know that in our patient, we want them to at least achieve functional independence. And for functional independence, we have to get activity of around 5.1 METs, which is equivalent to 18 ml per kg per minute of VO2 max. So this was a study which improved the oxygen uptake of skeletal muscles very significantly in patients. And you know that the heart failure with preserved ejection fraction is usually a disease of older patients. So this study was specially done on the older population, and you can see that there was a huge benefit of exercise on peak VO2 uptake. And you can see in controls, there is no improvement. So this is again shows the same effect. Skeletal muscle oxygen utilization is much increased in patients who perform physical activity. And this was a trial which was done on hospitalized patients who were frail and old, and they used a score for implement their intervention, and you can see that there is much improvement of exercise in patients with heart failure. That even improved the quality of life, that even decreased the frailty burden. So patients with heart failure with preserved ejection fraction appear to have much greater improvement for the novel rehab heart failure intervention trial. You can see that in this trial, they compared the patient with heart failure with preserved and with reduced ejection fraction, and there is the benefit of exercise in patient with preserved ejection fraction is much greater than the benefit attained by the patients with reduced ejection fraction. So these are the determinants of exercise capacity. By Fick's law, we know that the VO2 max is equal to product of cardiac output and arteriovenous oxygen difference. So we know that it's not just the heart which can improve the cardiac output. Like we can decrease or increase the heart rate. We can improve the stroke volume. But once the patient is having systolic and diastolic dysfunction, this is somewhat fixed. And with use of beta blockers, there is chronotropic incompetence. But the other side of the equation, we can see that arteriovenous oxygen differentiation we can improve with exercise. Like we can decrease the peripheral vascular resistance, and we can improve the skeletal muscle function by improving the exercise, and we can increase the cardiac output and VO2 max. So this is almost the same slide which was shown by Professor Dr. Shehbaz Qureshi, and in this we can see that the patients having ejection fraction, heart failure with reduced ejection fraction or preserved ejection fraction, they usually have less end diastolic volume, around 75. While those who are normal or who are having exercise or the trained athletes, 160. So there is quite a cardiac reserve which a patient or a normal individual have, which saves him from heart failure in future. And this is the same effect in pictorial view. You can see that with exercise, the muscle mass either remains the same or increases, while the LV and diastolic dimension, they increase. So the left ventricular mass to volume ratio remains the same, which is important for prevention of heart failure. So prevention of heart failure with physical activity, greater physical activity, less sedentary time, improved cardiovascular fitness are associated with reduction in heart failure. The mechanisms include reducing the prevalence of standard and novel cardiovascular risk factors, inhibiting pathological cardiovascular remodeling, promoting physiological remodeling, improving cardiac, neurohumoral, skeletal muscles, pulmonary, renal, and vascular performance, which is improved by exercise, mitigating age-associated reduction in the ventricular compliance and cardiac mass. So this is shown in a diagram. Like with aerobic exercise, there is intermittent activation of sympathetic nervous system, which in turn decrease the resting sympathetic tone, which in turn decrease the release of angiotensin, and which in turn reduce the RAS activation. And similarly increase skeletal muscle oxygen requirement, which will improve the oxygen extraction. It will improve mitochondrial function. It will enhance contractility. Then it will have very beneficial effects on the heart by improving the diastolic dysfunction. Then the pulmonary effect, the lung capacity is increased as well. And there are other effects of exercise as well. So for the patients with heart failure should opt for a well-balanced exercise program, which has a proper frequency, proper intensity, proper time duration, and the type of exercise should be ascertained. And the type of exercises include aerobic exercises, which include walking, cycling, dancing, golf, strength training exercise using lightweight resistance bands or with your own weight. And then the others are the flexible and balance exercises like yoga and Tai Chi. So a mix of physical activity is even better than simple walking. Moderate intensity exercise of at least 150 minutes a week is necessary, more the better. And if we add this muscle strengthening exercises, then the benefit is even additive. The muscle strengthening exercises include bicep curls, tricep extensions, shoulder squeeze, and chest press. Three components of exercise session should be told to the patient. First, they should warm up, which helps to to prepare the body and prevent injuries and abnormal beats. Then they should start the training of exercise and followed by a cooling time for at least 5 to 10 minutes, which will prevent any dizziness or any muscle injuries. So intensity of exercise should be ascertained by the patient himself, because the patient knows what he can manage. There are usually two methods are used. First is a talk test. If the patient can't talk a sentence while exercise, so he should stop there. And the other is the rating of perceived exertion scale, which starts from 6 and goes to 20. And we recommend to keep the activity at 9 to 14. So prioritize frequency and duration over intensity. Better to do a little exercise most days. Better to work out at a light to moderate intensity for a longer time. No lower exercise threshold for cardiovascular benefits. Some exercise is better than none. This is my last slide. Physical activity is a vital sign, and exercise is a medicine. Thank you.